There is a time, a sacred window, when the world sleeps but heaven speaks. My friends, let me ask you something. Have you ever woken up in the stillness of the night and felt something different? A stirring in your soul? A moment where time itself feels suspended? Let me tell you, between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., something powerful happens. It is in these hours that destinies are shaped. It is in these hours that the greatest men and women in history received their revelations. And it is in these hours that you, yes, you, can tap into something beyond yourself. Why do the most successful, most spiritually aware, and most disciplined individuals rise at this time? Because in these hours, you can hear what the noise of the world drowns out. You see, the world tells you to rest, to sleep in, to wait for a more convenient time. But I'm here to tell you, opportunity knocks when most people are too asleep to answer. If you have ever felt lost, if you have ever longed for a breakthrough, if you have ever prayed for a sign, then my friend, this message is for you. By the end of this message, you will know exactly what to do in these early morning hours. You will understand why this time is sacred. And if you take action, it will transform your life. Do not miss this. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share could be the difference between a life of mediocrity and a life of divine purpose. Are you ready? Let's begin. There is something mysterious, something deeply spiritual about the early morning hours between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. While the world sleeps, a sacred stillness fills the air. It is a time unlike any other, a time when distractions are absent, when the weight of daily burdens is lifted, and when clarity of thought is sharper than ever. These hours hold an extraordinary power that most people never tap into. Yet those who do often find their lives transformed. In these quiet hours, the mind is at its purest state. Science tells us that the brain operates differently upon waking, that the subconscious is more accessible, that creativity flows more freely. But beyond the science, there is a spiritual significance to this time. In the silence of these hours, you can hear the whispers of purpose, the gentle nudging of destiny, the voice of God speaking in ways that the noise of the day often drowns out. This is the hour when prophets received visions, when great minds conceived their life-changing ideas, and when those who seek truth find it with a depth they never imagined. But why do so few people experience this power? The world has conditioned us to believe that success comes from relentless action during the day, that productivity is about working harder, running faster, doing more. And yet, history tells a different story. Those who have tapped into the early morning hours have discovered that the real breakthroughs do not come from mere hard work, but from alignment. Alignment with divine timing, with clarity of vision, and with the deep reservoirs of inner strength that only reveal themselves in solitude. The power of this time is not just about peace. It is about preparation. It is about stepping into a realm where battles are won before the day even begins. A warrior does not step into the battlefield without first sharpening his sword. A builder does not raise a structure without first laying a foundation. And a man or woman of purpose does not enter the day without first anchoring themselves in the stillness of the early morning. Those who rise before the world wakes are not just early risers, they are early victors. They are ahead, not just in time, but in purpose, in discipline, in divine revelation. Many will argue that sleep is necessary, and indeed it is. But what if the very thing you need is not more sleep, but more clarity? What if what is missing in your life is not more hours in the day, but a moment in time where you are fully present, fully awake, fully surrendered to what is possible? The early morning is not just a time on the clock. It is a sacred invitation. An invitation to rise when others rest, to seek when others settle, to prepare when others procrastinate. It is in this time that destinies are forged. Visions are received and lives are transformed. There is a moment before the world awakens when everything is still. No rush, no noise, no distractions, just an overwhelming sense of calm. Between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., the world is in a hushed state, a pause before the chaos of the day begins. This stillness is not ordinary. It is an opportunity, a sacred window of time where clarity, reflection, and divine alignment are most accessible. It is the quiet before the storm of daily responsibilities, the space where the mind is free to think, the heart is free to feel, and the spirit is free to listen. During these hours, everything is different. The streets are empty, the air feels lighter, and the burdens of yesterday seem less heavy. It is in this silence that many have found their greatest revelations. In the Bible, we see that some of the most profound encounters with God happened in the stillness of the early morning. Jacob wrestled with an angel before dawn and walked away transformed. Jesus rose early to pray when no one was watching. Throughout history, great thinkers, inventors, and spiritual leaders have understood that the early morning carries a power that the rest of the day simply does not hold. Most people never experience this because they are too consumed with the cycle of busyness. They wake up to alarms, rush into their routines, and enter the day already overwhelmed. But those who take advantage of these quiet hours step into their day differently. They do not start from a place of exhaustion, but from a place of preparation. They are not reacting to life, they are directing it. This is the time when prayers are most focused, when plans are most intentional, when the mind is most receptive to wisdom and creativity. There is something about being awake when the rest of the world sleeps. It makes you feel ahead, set apart, in tune with something greater than yourself. When you wake up in these hours, you are not just rising physically, you are rising spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. You are training yourself to move with discipline, to embrace the stillness instead of running from it, to step into the day already victorious before the battles even begin. The enemy of greatness is distraction, and the early morning is the only time of the day where distraction is almost non-existent. No emails to check, no messages to respond to, no demands from the outside world. It is just you and God, you and your thoughts, you and the possibility of what could be. The stillness before the storm is not just a moment of peace, it is a moment of power. Those who understand this will never approach their days the same way again. There is a time when heaven speaks, a time when the deepest truths are revealed, not in the rush of the day, not in the noise of the world, but in the stillness of the early morning. Between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., something happens that cannot be explained with logic alone. This is the hour when minds are clearest, when the heart is most open, and when the spirit is most receptive. Those who dare to rise in these sacred hours often find themselves encountering revelations that change the course of their lives. Throughout history, the most powerful moments of divine encounter have come in the early morning. Moses met God on the mountain in the quiet hours. Samuel heard the voice of the Lord calling him in the night. Paul and Silas, bound in prison, sang praises in the midnight hour, and suddenly the foundations of the prison shook and their chains fell off. There is something about these hours that carry a supernatural weight, a mystery that few people truly understand. The world teaches us that answers come from effort, that wisdom comes from books, that breakthroughs come from strategies. But those who have walked the path of true revelation know that the greatest answers come in silence. In these hours, when the mind is unburdened by the pressures of daily life, when the distractions have ceased, when the only sound is the beating of your own heart, this is when truth speaks. This is when ideas that have been buried under layers of worry suddenly rise to the surface. This is when solutions that seemed impossible suddenly become clear. This is when God whispers things that you were too busy to hear during the day. Many of the greatest ideas, the most profound works of art, the most revolutionary discoveries were not birthed in moments of chaos, but in moments of quiet revelation. Nikola Tesla spoke of insights that came to him in flashes of light during silent contemplation. Isaac Newton discovered gravity in a moment of stillness. Spiritual leaders throughout history have woken up in these early hours to pray, to meditate, to listen, because they knew that the hour of revelation does not come when the world is loud, but when the soul is still. But here's the truth. Most people will never experience this. Most people are too consumed by the demands of life to ever pause long enough to receive what is waiting for them. They go to bed exhausted, wake up hurried, and live every day reacting instead of receiving. They do not realize that everything they need, the clarity, the answers, the direction, is already available to them, but it requires them to wake up, to be still, to listen. The hour of revelation is not reserved for a chosen few. It is open to anyone willing to step into it. The greatest battles in life are not fought with weapons, but with discipline. Between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. there is a war that most people never recognize. A battle between comfort and calling, between sleep and sacrifice, between mediocrity and greatness. It is in these hours that the mind, body, and spirit are most tested. The choice to rise when the world is still sleeping is not just a decision. It is an act of defiance against laziness, against weakness, against the voices that say, stay where you are. Discipline is what separates those who dream from those who achieve. Many people have desires, ambitions, and prayers, but few have the discipline to wake up before the sun and prepare themselves for the day ahead. This is why so many people live the same year over and over again, never moving forward, never breaking free from their struggles. They wait for motivation, but motivation is fleeting. Discipline, however, is what carries a person through when motivation disappears. The decision to rise at this sacred hour is not about proving something to the world. It is about proving something to yourself. There is a reason why soldiers train in the early hours, why world-class athletes start their day before others have even opened their eyes, why spiritual leaders throughout history have sought God in the quiet of the morning, because they understand that the battle is won before it even begins. The way you start your day determines the way you live your life. If you begin with discipline, you move with purpose. If you begin with weakness, the rest of the day follows in the same pattern. But make no mistake, this is not easy. The hardest part of any journey is the beginning. The body will resist, the mind will make excuses, the bed will feel more inviting than ever. Darkness will tell you that you need more rest, that tomorrow is a better day to start, that the sacrifice is too great. But this is where discipline must rise. This is where the decision must be made, not based on feelings, but on the unwavering commitment to something greater. There is a power that comes with mastering these early hours. It is not just about waking up. It is about taking control. It is about refusing to let the world dictate your schedule, your mindset, your destiny. Those who command their mornings command their lives. Those who overcome the darkness with discipline walk into the day already victorious. And once you master this, once you develop the strength to rise before the world, you will find that no obstacle, no challenge, no opposition can hold you back. If you study the lives of the most influential men and women in history, you will find a common thread. An unshakable commitment to the early morning hours. From world leaders to inventors, from spiritual giants to business moguls, there is a pattern that cannot be ignored. These individuals did not wait for the day to come to them. They took control of their mornings, and in doing so, took control of their lives. The secret they knew, the one that separates the extraordinary from the ordinary, is that success is not found in the rush of the day, but in the quiet discipline of the early hours. Look at the great spiritual leaders of history. They did not wake up at their leisure. They rose when others slept. Jesus often withdrew early in the morning to pray, seeking wisdom and strength before facing the crowds. Martin Luther, the great reformer, was known for his relentless prayer life, often beginning his day long before the sun rose. Even modern visionaries, from CEOs to creatives, have spoken about the power of the morning, how those first few hours shape the trajectory of their entire day. Why is this time so powerful? Because it is untouched by the distractions of the world. There are no ringing phones, no urgent emails, no social obligations demanding attention. It is in these hours that ideas come with clarity, that strategies form without interference, that deep work can be done without interruption. This is the time when greatness is cultivated, not in the public eye, but in the unseen discipline of preparation. Many people wonder why they feel stuck, why their prayers seem unanswered, why their dreams seem so distant. But the truth is, greatness is rarely given. It is pursued. It is carved out in the moments when no one is watching. It is built in the sacrifice of comfort, in the willingness to do what others will not. The difference between those who make history and those who are forgotten is not always talent, intelligence, or even opportunity. It is the ability to seize the morning, to master the first hours of the day, to do the hard things before the rest of the world even wakes up. And yet, so few will ever discover this secret. Most will sleep through the very hours that could change their lives. They will let excuses dictate their days, let exhaustion steal their potential, let distractions consume the time meant for their growth. But for those who understand, for those who embrace the discipline of the morning, there is no limit to what can be achieved. This is the secret of the great ones, the willingness to rise, to prepare, to pursue excellence when no one is watching. And in that sacred time, destinies are shaped, lives are transformed, and history is made. There comes a moment in life when you must decide. Will you continue living as you always have, or will you step into something greater? Between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., a door stands open before you, but only you can walk through it. This is not just another motivational message. This is a call, a challenge, a wake-up moment that could alter the course of your life. Because right now, you are standing at the crossroads of discipline and comfort, of action and excuses, of transformation and stagnation, and the decision you make will determine the person you become. Most people will hear this and dismiss it. They will say, it's too hard, I'm not a morning person, or maybe I'll start another day. But let me tell you something. Greatness does not wait for convenience. Breakthroughs do not come to those who delay. If you want to step into the next level of your life, you must be willing to do what others will not. And this begins with mastering the morning, taking control of the first hours of your day, and setting a foundation that no storm, no obstacle, no opposition can shake. This is not just about waking up early. It is about becoming the person you were meant to be. It is about rising with purpose, starting your day with strength, and positioning yourself for success before the world even begins to move. It is about understanding that in the quiet of the morning, destinies are written, dreams are pursued, and victories are secured. And it is about refusing to let another day slip by without stepping into the fullness of your potential. So the question is, will you do it? Will you commit to rising before the sun? Will you take those sacred hours and use them to build the life you were created for? Will you be among the few who break free from mediocrity and step into a life of discipline, clarity, and divine purpose? Because if you do, everything will change. If you do, you will look back on this moment as the turning point. If you do, you will never live the same way again. The choice is yours. The opportunity is before you. But it will not wait forever. The time is now. The morning is calling. Will you answer? My friends, you have heard the call. You now know the power of the early morning, the stillness before the storm, the sacred hour of revelation, the discipline required to overcome darkness, the secret of great men and women, and the undeniable challenge to take action. But knowledge alone is not enough. It is what you do with it that will define your future. You see, between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., something extraordinary happens. These hours are not ordinary. They are divine. They are the moments when destinies are shaped, when voices long silenced can be heard, when the clutter of the world fades and true purpose is revealed. Yet most people will let these hours slip away. They will continue as they always have, caught in the same patterns, chained by the same excuses. But for those who dare to rise, for those who dare to step into this time with intention and discipline, life will never be the same again. I challenge you, tonight, before you sleep, make a decision. Set your alarm not just as a reminder to wake up, but as a symbol of your commitment to something greater. And when that alarm rings, do not hesitate. Get up. Step into the stillness. Pray, plan, reflect, work. Train your body, sharpen your mind, strengthen your spirit. Use these hours to prepare for the life you have been called to live. Because when the rest of the world wakes up, you will not be starting from where you left off yesterday. You will already be ahead, already victorious, already walking in purpose. And so I leave you with this. Your future is not waiting for you at some distant point in time. It begins now, in the choices you make, in the discipline you embrace, in the moments you refuse to waste. If you do this, if you commit to mastering these sacred hours, then you will look back one day and realize that this was the moment everything changed. The morning is calling. The choice is yours. Will you answer?